5 out of 7.
6. I mean,
6
just
out of
as far
7.
as actually putting ink on paper. Yeah.
And 1 fighting flooding.
Oof.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the select board meeting for Tuesday, December 19th to order. And first item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any changes to the agenda?
Brian, just to note the board signature of a thank you letter to the American Legion for their contribution of $5,000 to the fireworks display for New Year's.
Thank you, American Legion.
Yeah.
So hearing no,
Also, a brief executive session for legal matters.
we do have executive session. Okay. So all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Seconded, anything anybody would like to call attention to? Is not really much there, other than just re-emphasizing our appreciation for the Legion's support of our New Year's Eve fireworks display. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, citizens' comments. Anybody?
Sorry, can I make one comment?
Yes.
I don't know that I saw recognition for the Toys for Tots that the town employees did. Was that in the consent agenda? Anyway, it would just be nice to recognize them at some point.
Great.
Yeah, that came in late on
After,
Friday,
yeah.
so I'll include it in the next one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it was quite two truckloads, or
Yeah.
Amazing.
two pickup truckloads.
Holy cow.
And then there was a police department.
Yep.
Police department, yeah,
Yeah.
that's still going on.
Right.
That's a much bigger one, I think.
They've been doing it for a while, right?
For many years.
Okay.
Anybody logged in that have any comments? No hands up. So we'll move on to text my gov discussion and Kathleen's rebuttal to our, or reply.
Response.
My respectful response to your inquiries about TextMyGov. Crystal is also going to be joining us for this, since she did all of the heavy lifting on this.
I was thinking yesterday we could have really used this.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I'm all for it.
I think the only question was, do you want would the preload of it
Right.
be helpful?
I think there were mixed feelings on that all the way around. Crystal, where did we leave it with the 2 versus 3 year contract?
I think that, I don't know that the preload is really going to make a ton of difference. I like the idea of 2 year because it allows us that 3rd year if a better program becomes available. It gives that leeway of not being locked into 3 years. And it gives residents the option to opt in on their own, I would say. So.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning that way myself.
Yeah. I tend to think it's a little bit creepy when you just get signed up for things. It feels kind of spammy.
So a motion for a 2-year then?
I'll move to approve a 2-year contract with TextMyGov for $4,800 annually to provide the town with a web-based texting communications solution.
And a second would be in order?
Second.
Okay, second from Farhad.
I never do it, so.
Disappointing.
What's disappointing?
Who's going to second here?
Here's the chair and here's the guy that points
We
to
have
everybody.
a
so-
relatively smooth meeting.
We
Unless-
did. Jeez.
Unless the board decides not to play along. Are there any comments or questions on 2-year?
They're both on board now.
I think
It's an off
we've
week.
decided that we would prefer to have
Where
people
do I
opt in.
sign up? That's
Uh,
my question. Where do I sign up?
Brilliant.
So let's go ahead and vote, and then I have one comment. So, or question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then how do we advertise this so that we get, because it would have been useless if it'll be useless for 6 months at least till, because it's to get enough followers. I know you're going to put it out in the, in our newsletter and whatnot. How else do we get it out there?
In the Assembly poll for town meeting.
Assembly
Ooh,
poll.
nice. And we'll all obviously be ambassadors.
They also, so they require that we use one of their widgets on our website. So there'll be like a little box in the corner of the website that will say, sign up for texting to mitigate the town. And they are allowing us to use our phone number. So the main phone number that we use, we'll be able to use as well for texting. So it won't cause any confusion. People will be able to call or text the same phone number.
Ooh,
How do they do
How
that?
do you do that?
That's fancy.
It takes some work with the telephone company, but it's something that I have achieved in the past with other jobs. And I talked to this company about it, and they're willing to do the work as well here, so.
Fantastic.
You get a fist bump for negotiating that.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
makes a big difference, I know. So.
Okay, and then maybe if we could get little publicity in the Addy Indy on it once we get it up and going.
Yeah.
Maybe one of us could write an editorial about our efforts to try to communicate with the community better.
Can wrap the fire trucks in.
I just think about the East Middlebury River, and whenever time we go down there and do the door knock thing. in the
Right.
middle of the night trying to arouse people up, this is so much. Holy smokes, yeah.
Yeah. We'll give you some knob hanger notifications when you're knocking, so.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, that's,
Awesome.
anything else you got for us, Crystal, on that?
I don't think so. I'm just excited to get it rolling, so I will get on this right away and hopefully it'll be live here very, very soon. So thank you for taking the time to look into it and ask great questions.
Okay, thank you for the effort.
Thank you.
So then, I think Emily's on, yeah, okay. So,
David missed all the excitement.
yeah. We went for the 5-year, Dave.
We're not sure what that gets us, but we signed up.
We were so happy for it. Good evening, Emily.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I think we have a pretty quick one tonight.
I think so.
Yeah, line striping equipment. Bill had put a proposal out for the infrastructure committee's review. Looking at the cost, we have equipment that we have, it's on the replacement schedule. And he was looking at doing it this year, was hoping to fund the additional $8,075 needed through the traffic calming fund in the capital budget. But the infrastructure committee felt that that money is already needed in other areas. So we are asking for a recommendation or approval to include it in the existing budget, which it is as it was presented to you last week. So it would be a fiscal year 2025 purchase as opposed to an immediate purchase. But reality is the crew's not going out to paint any lines in the meantime anyway. And we do have equipment that can get them through the spring, so they could buy it July 1.
Okay, so that's just an FYI, not to strip it out of your budget.
Exactly.
Okay.
Please.
Emily, was Bill able to look into that alternative vendor that Luther suggested? Do you know?
I don't know if Bill has. I looked at it. It is mostly field striping, but when I looked up these, this is for 2 different instruments, and they did have one of them listed, but I didn't chase it any further than that.
What if,
I can reach out to them if Bill's not able to, well, we can at least chase that, but we have some time now.
so there's not really anything we need to do at this time anyway, so, okay.
No. And then the next item, the urban forestry management plan, I've been working with Jen Murray. This is a grant proposal that originally the tree committee had brought to us, and we decided that we would take it over in working with the tree committee just to try to streamline it a little bit. But it would essentially combine 3 different projects that we're trying to work on. One of them is to complete an urban forestry management plan, which is a grant that they applied for last December, I believe, and we're not successful in getting it, but it would help us develop a plan to move forward for planting locations and maintenance needed and watering plans, all of those things that we've sort of been struggling with. It would outline it better for us. And then we also want to complete the tree inventory. I guess I should say the tree inventory is complete, but we want to add the potential planting sites to that inventory. So this grant would help do that. And then we're also would like to apply to do a tree planting over at the rec center on Creek Road around the parking lots. And we've been working with Bruce from the school. He has some visions for where he'd like to see trees, and we also have some for just shading the parking lots and all the impervious over there a bit better. So this grant is a no match, which is lovely. It's a maximum of $50,000, minimum of $5,000. And I don't know, Jen is the one who's been dialing in a bit more. I don't know that she has the final dollar value on it yet. We were still waiting to get a quote for the proposed planting. So I don't know that it's fine-tuned quite enough to give you that estimate of what we anticipate it to be.
So it's going to be for the roughly $20,000 in the Davy proposal plus planting of new trees?
So Josh is on the tree committee. We have a few of these urban management plans that we've looked at just for comparison, but he prepared that one just to give an idea. And it really depends on what we ask to be included in it, how in-depth certain areas are. So I feel like last year what they were applying for was more like a $5,000 management plan grant. I might be wrong on that dollar value, but I think it was less than what this one is. But we are trying to dial it in and get some more benefit out of it if we are able to get the grant. It seems worth it.
Any questions? We're creating the team of teams that we discussed yesterday, so.
I have a question. Maybe I shouldn't ask this, but that's a disadvantaged neighborhood over there?
There are certain areas of Middlebury that are highlighted for and eligible for this grant.
All those new houses along that whole development over there's a new Creek Road, right? Disadvantaged houses across from the rec center?
I do not know their methodology for creating the district,
Oh, yeah.
but we are.
Those were some of the.
It's pretty nice, but it's okay.
Any other questions? Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to approve the submitting of an application to Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program by the town of Middlebury for the creation of an urban forest management plan and supporting of the town tree planting project at the town rec center.
Second.
Second, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thumbs up, good. Couple project updates, Emily?
I think you all have heard these project updates. South Street is complete. We had some flooding issues over there yesterday that our crew was able to resolve, and then I did get Casella up there just to check it out to see if there's anything that they need to do and improve it. I think where they removed some of the curbing and they didn't reinstall it in this past season, it impacted some of the drainage. So we're brainstorming right now. We might be putting in some temporary curb, just to get us, hopefully we don't get another storm event like yesterday. But there were some ponding issues around 22 South Street.
Is that what you called those beanbag curbs? Yep, there
They're
was.
like the parking lot curbs.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So don't
yeah,
take one.
yeah.
We would just have to be mindful of the sidewalk plow and the other plows, obviously. So they're a little finagling to get it to work. I mean, we could also use erosion socks or something like that, which might be more applicable, but I think we need to make some improvements over there because it was pretty bad yesterday. But it was also 4 inches of rain.
So Emily, I just along that line, you know, I've been reading what streets and roads were closed during the storm. Any other significant areas where we had problems with this storm?
We had a water break on North Pleasant that I would attribute to the flooding. We had a lot of our pump stations were overflowing. We had 3 overflows throughout the day. Yeah, just flooding. I mean, I don't like to say this, but I feel like we fared relatively well. But
Sure.
I said that back in July too, so
Oh,
really go with that.
yeah.
How did Middlebury River do over?
Middlebury River, I checked it at 11:30 and it was about a foot, 2 feet below top of bank. So the Aussie berm looked really good, but it was raging through there. The work that we did at 12 Gristmill, 30 Gristmill Road, stabilizing that really steep slope, that was almost at the top of the stone, but the river was still kicked out in the channel. So what I saw, it was holding, and the effort was holding that slope.
Awesome.
Yeah. Further upstream, the effort that we did at 468 East Main Street, that was holding up. That looked fine. And then I went up North Branch. I don't know that side of Middlebury got as much rain as downtown got. Sort of similar to the August event. It was a very light rain when I was on North Branch. There was one spot that the river was channeled and had crossed the road. But the crew just went in and re-ditched it and opened it up and it was fine. All the other ditching looked like it held up. But it was barely raining up there, and as soon as I got back down into town, it was pouring again. So I think for them, it's more of the snow melt coming off the mountains more than the actual rain event. But everybody that normally reaches out to me in East Middlebury, I did not hear a peep from any of them.
Wow.
It was more downtown folks that were concerned. We do have a lot of concerns. Danville Drive, that neighborhood was seeing a lot of high water again, and I think we need to look into doing a mitigation study to help with some stormwater needs in there. Sort of look at that entire neighborhood all the way from Seminary Street Extension to Danville Drive. It's all one. I mean, it's a few different watersheds in there, but it's all rather interconnected. And then the other area that we were seeing really high water was Warren Lane, that area. So those folks had a lot of ponding.
Emily, our road on East Munger flooded. It was up over the road. And that's a really fairly rare occasion that it comes all the way up, that my field's flood enough that it goes over the road. But it had fully receded by daylight this morning. Were the other areas receding as fast?
Yeah, the areas receded really quickly. Like even last night, the crew left at 7 and it was already dropping.
Huh.
So roads were still closed, but it was going down really fast.
Yeah.
It's interesting over on Halpin on the New Haven side where it comes out on River Road. That was the last 300 yards of Halpin Road was completely flooded with with probably thigh deep water going over the road
Last night.
last night. It looked like it was coming off the Muddy Branch and bypassing.
Wow.
And did you look at it today?
Yeah, I went out there this morning at 7 o'clock, and it was gone. The water was gone, but the road was wiped. The road was gone too.
Yeah, it was weird though how fast it
You know,
was.
there's a big obstruction under the bridge there that people have been worried about. I wonder if that washed out part of it.
Okay.
Under the in New Haven at the end of Halpin Road, that bridge, the Nash Farm, there was nothing under the bridge when I saw it this morning.
Guess there's your answer. It
I
washed
think
out.
I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
That's the longest the water has been over my driveway in all the flood event. It's I
Wow.
think 5 times I've had water over my driveway this year.
Huh.
And that was the longest. It started like at 1:30,
Yeah.
and we went down about 8:45 last night, and there was still water.
It's funny
Over my driveway, the whole road, everywhere.
on the evening news last night, they reported Middlebury is having the most rain at 3.9 inches, but today they only said Middlebury only had like a little over 2.
Huh.
So, but they reported it's almost at
Yeah.
4.
We had already logged 3.75 at 11:30 because the wastewater facility logs it daily. So
Right.
they had already tracked almost 4 inches by noon.
So it's just different amounts and short distances.
Yeah, and so that gauge might have been over at the airport because that is where one of the weather stations is.
Okay.
Because on that side of town,
Yep.
it probably was much less. I know the Dow Pond where all that work was just done, that shoulder started to fail, but I called the state, it looked like they had gotten out there in time to salvage it. It wasn't completely failed, but definitely a lot of settling.
Heard that last night. One of my employees lives right beside it, and he said probably worth checking out. Okay, and then the Holiday Road Pump Station.
Holiday Road Pump Station is still buttoning it up. The generator's in there. We still have to get the company that provided it in to do the upfit and then get it connected to Vermont Gas. Champlain will come back in the spring to pave the parking area. So we're in pretty good shape over there. They're totally off the old system, which was very good yesterday. Wet well was fully operational. So that probably saved that pump station from discharging.
Good. Well, it looks like we won't have a white Christmas, but I guess that means that your very heavily worked crew will not be out plowing most likely, and we'll, I guess, be thankful for them that they get a break.
They could certainly use a break. Kathleen, did you see the letter for Bob?
Yes.
Can we share that?
Yeah, do you want to, the highlight is that we just received notice that Region 1 from the US EPA named Robert Wells, our wastewater superintendent, wastewater operator, regional wastewater operator of the year.
Wow,
Oh,
that's impressive.
he entertained them.
He drives the Zamboni too.
Yeah. Bob's always liked the Zamboni.
That's awesome.
Well, that is great.
Well, a lot of good stuff going on there.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Emily. I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, likewise.
Chief, I think you're next up.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you stole some of my thunder last week, so we'll
Yeah.
just dive right into it.
Not a surprise.
So I'm back to talk about following the 15-year master plan for truck replacement within the department. And this round we'll be replacing the utility truck, our main apparatus. we're replacing our 2003 Spartan sold to us by Yankee Fire Equipment out of Palmer, Mass. for $280,000. I wish we could do that again. Trucks responded to somewhere between 4,700 and 5,500 calls in its lifetime and still in service. We formed a committee back in August. Assistant Chief Myron Selleck, Blake Harrison, Scott Selleck, Brian Hayes, and AJ Rosbach. Myself and Pat Shaw are serving as officers officio on the committee. They've held 7 committee meetings to date. They've photographed and measured the truck. Their task was, as I put forward to them, was to reevaluate the entire apparatus to see that the current truck that we have is still working for us and what that truck will look like 25 years from now. And maximizing the space on that truck for what we currently have and what we will have in 25 years. As we know that's quite a task. And the most expensive real estate on a vehicle is a fire apparatus. And so we need to maximize that space as much as possible. So they've been pulling pieces of it apart, measuring in compartments, checking load on the drawers, that type of stuff. We currently have many of the drawers overloaded and that need to be changed. They have reached out to manufacturers to start the preliminary round. They've met with asked Pierce, Rescue One, Towing, E1, and Alex to come back and work with us. They've created working on a wish list. Their goal is to, if possible, reduce the size of the truck, not increase the size of the truck. Keep in mind through the whole process of cost and trying to keep the cost. We're certainly fighting a world where increased cost and vehicle equipment is certainly having an effect on our replacement process. And so with that in mind, we're trying to keep that cost down. They have taken a holiday break. They haven't met since the end of November. They'll get back together in January through June. They'll meet with prospective dealers, refining the wish list, going over compartment spacing and apparatus. July, hopefully they'll put out competitive bids to the top 3 that they narrowed down in the list of 7. And then August and September, based after our scoring process that we've scored all of our trucks with, present to the town board and the officials a recommended truck with a contract signing in October and a delivery of October of 24 and a delivery in October of 25, more likely the spring of 26.
Chief, are there any changes in technology where you say downsizing the truck? Or is some of the apparatus getting smaller?
Yeah, and some of the compartmentalization now, it used to be when this truck was built, everything laid flat in a compartment. You could lay it flat, and if it was flat, the real estate above it was kind of a giveaway.
Now the racking is better?
Now we're racking, right? We're putting horizontal boards in, or vertical boards in there, and we're stacking those boards so we can get much more stuff in a compartment than we can. And then also keeping the heavier weighted stuff down below and utilizing those attic compartments, as we call them. And those attic compartments can carry a lot of stuff, and we can carry a lot of lightweight stuff up there. So the way our truck is designed now, it's not designed that way, but the future truck will be to get the lighter weight stuff up top. Look at the stuff that is first response that's needed quickly down low, the stuff that's post-incident or later in the incident up top, where we can crawl up and get that stuff. That real estate's a little cheaper up there.
And similar to the last one, we'll outfit it with all new gear and everything. And
We will not. No, a lot of this equipment that's on our current truck is still
good stuff.
good stuff. Absolutely.
Okay.
It will have a new set of cutting and spreading tools and airbags and that type of stuff that we're replacing. It'll have that, but most of the same stuff will be on there. One crazy thing is like push brooms. We carry a dozen push brooms. They take a lot of space, a dozen push brooms. So do we store them now with, they make a handle that's quick attach. So you could store all the heads in a box and all the handles in a tube that could run between the front wheel and the front corner of the compartment. That's dead space right there. So you could put a tube in there and put handles in there. The thought process is it take a lot less space. The reality is, can you put that room together in the middle of the night on the side of Route 7 trying to figure out where the lighting is? But lighting on trucks today is much better than it was. As you know, you have many trucks in your fleet, but the lighting that comes with the truck is much better. So we're talking about now we have a light tower. Maybe do we even need to have a light tower? That type of stuff. So we're really asking ourselves, as we did with the other engine and ladder, what we really need and what we don't need. You know, what's a wish, what's a desire, what's absolute, and then working with those lists to narrow them down.
This was a new process you instituted with the last one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you were, I know Heather was with us and Farhad was
Well,
with
the
us.
last two.
Yeah, the last
You've
two.
done two this way, yeah.
Yeah.
So these guys have really fine-tuned defining the needs and the best equipment for the job. And I think they've brought us some real good value in the process that Chief and the department have instituted.
You know, we build by committee. You know, you could build by the three chief officers building a truck and pushing it down on the manpower, and you don't get ownership that way. This way, the committee builds it, and the committee chair is stuck with that truck for the rest of their life. Right? So you're stuck with that thing. So you really want to have a good truck built. You really have a lot of skin in the game. So
I don't think I've ordered a truck in 20 years. I let the drivers.
there you
figure
go.
that
Yeah, we don't
out.
have that choice.
Yeah, well, good for you. Well, any questions of him? This is, as you can see, and he's provided us, they did expand out the life on some of these, and I think we talked about it at the last meeting. I think it's a little premature to be talking about anything because we don't know, number one, we really need, it'd be good to see where this one comes in at.
Yeah.
So we can project forward, but also we've got some activity going on within the town. It might impact the grand list and we'll get a better sense where that plays out.
We're a little light on our estimation of costs, but again, the fund I think has some room to take care of that. The other things we need to move the support truck ahead of engine 2. So that's a conversation for a later time.
The support one.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things don't last.
No, it was a $19,780 pickup truck that we bought, and it's worked really, really well. But it's
Yeah.
it'll need to go. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions of Chief, comments? He'll be, typically the process is as they get going, then he'll come in and he'll keep us in the loop and give
Yeah.
us some more briefings on it.
Yep.
And then as we get closer, he'll bring his team in and they'll actually give us a briefing what they're proposing.
We go to the infrastructure committee first,
Yep.
make a presentation there, make any adjustments off in that committee, and then meet with you guys. Yeah.
The infrastructure committee has all their stuff they would recommend. But as the process goes on, he usually has kept us in the loop on that.
Yeah, for sure. We will. Absolutely.
I have
Thank you.
unrelated question.
Yes.
Did you guys stay around town last night or were you out
We did.
someplace?
No, they were going to move us to central Vermont, but we had some local flooding here, and it was best that we stayed here, so we did.
Is this a busy time of year for you guys with calls and things like that? Or
Actually, it's fairly light. Yeah, just a couple, 3 this week, so it's been a good week.
It's been fairly warm, not a lot of woods fires going.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Hope that you guys go light through the
Yeah,
holiday.
it'd be
too.
good to get through the Christmas season without having something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't count on it though.
My house that I don't know if I ever told you the story, but my house that I was renting my senior year in college, I was up doing my final paper to turn in before coming home at Christmas, 3 days before Christmas. And we had a chimney fire. It burned down. And I had to get an extension on my paper because I was typing.
I
the
never
paper.
thought of that one.
You should have used that one. That was
If it
good.
burned down the house, that'd have been good.
Yeah. The poor fire department was having their Christmas party, of course, volunteer fire department, having their Christmas party, and I crashed their Christmas party with a house fire.
Got good response though, didn't you?
Actually, it was a Christmas party.
Several of them had to opt out.
Thank you all.
Hey, thanks, Chief.
Okay,
All right.
Dean and Joe.
Hi, everyone.
So
Hello. We go from the fire department to the librarian. Oh my gosh. Exciting to absolutely fabulously exciting.
Kathleen, can we start by showing the schedule?
Let's
If it's
see what-
possible.
let's see what I can find.
So tonight is just a progress update and a check-in. We're not making any recommendations or asking for any action this evening. Just going to give some new information and then maybe talk about what the process and timeline might look moving forward from here. So just to remind everyone, the lettering is a little tough to read, but our process, if you see the big yellow bar, that's schematic design. That started in October, and we're almost at the end of that process now. If you go down a little bit, there's a green square right around December. That's where we are right now, and that's the progress cost review. So that's one of the big pieces of information we'll share tonight. But the reason I wanted to look at this is so that you can see there's another big green square coming up in January, and that is bond vote cost estimate development. And then there's a final green square, cost estimate review and adjustments. So there's updates on the budget, but this is not the end process. It's not the final number. It's still an evolving process. So the last time Joe and I were here, we talked about some of the scope changes or updates that happened during the schematic design process. We talked about pulling back that Main Street entrance. We talked about angling that parking lot in response to community feedback that the parking's really important. Another big one was figuring out how to deliver power and water to the 73 Main Street. So those are some of the big changes that have happened over the past few months. We reviewed those changes with the public at an open house last weekend. Heather was there. And then I also did just a couple small focus groups with seniors, teens, families with young children. We had about 120 people participate in either the open house or the focus groups. Feedback was really positive, and that feedback has all been passed on to the project team and the architects. So we reviewed the updated total project budget last week from REARC. And Kathleen, if you want to show that, that would be helpful. The updated estimate is coming in at 16.3. I think we can characterize that as conservatively high, as it contains contingencies for both construction and owners' costs, to take care of any unknown, to cushion us against any unknowns that might come up. This is a very simplified, high-level budget, and my plan is to sort of present this to you tonight, and then at the next select board meeting, Chris Huston will be here from REARC, and he will be able to answer any questions and talk in much more detail about the budget. So if you have specific questions, he will be able to answer them, even if I maybe cannot. I also have an update on our funding sources. I have a much better idea now about what we're going to be eligible for through the Department of Libraries. That's looking like it's going to be anywhere from $900,000 up to $1.5 million as the ceiling for what we can apply for. We do expect that to be released in the next few weeks. And the good news is it's a rolling application, and they will be they'll be making commitments as the applications come in. So we don't have to wait for the end of the application period to hear back. The sooner we get it in, the sooner we will hear back. So that's great news. And we had not included that in our initial estimate of what we thought we could raise. I also had a nice conversation with a staffer from Senator Welch's office about our next application for congressionally directed funding, and they thought we would have a better chance than we've had in the past if we applied through the Save America's Treasures program. So that is what we're planning on doing this year, and that is $500,000 that we also had not previously counted on. So at this point in time, I'm thinking $6.5 million is what we can shoot to bring in through private fundraising and grants combined. So the total project cost has gone up, but so has the total project potential funding sources. And it's kind of a wash. The impact to the taxpayer would be the same. We're still hovering right around $10 million of potential public borrowing. So I guess I would suggest that maybe the next step is for the select board to for you guys to start thinking about affirming or confirming this scope of work and the general project budget. Chris will be here at the next meeting to answer specific questions. And I think we are still hoping to shoot for a May bond vote. And we can talk more about next steps, or I can answer questions about, that was a lot of information that we just put out there.
So we did have a discussion about the March or May at the last meeting.
Yeah, so the question was raised, would it make sense to move this up to a March bond vote, which would potentially allow us to break ground in the fall? And the project team discussed that. I think that you could certainly consider a March bond vote or a May bond vote. My sense from the project team discussion was that the pros of moving it up didn't outweigh the cons. We will have more time to prepare for a bond vote if we wait until May, and we'll be able to have more commitments on those outside funding sources. That was the primary reason I think we were leaning more towards May. When Chris is here, he can speak more about the best time to issue or solicit bids, I guess. Even if we were to move the bond vote up until March, the decision might still be made to delay construction until the spring of 2025, such that bids could be put out in the winter, as that might be a more favorable time, was my impression.
Yeah, he indicated that people don't have their commitments, early in the year. So if you're putting things out to bid then, as opposed to in the fall, you're bidding in the spring to start in the fall. People have a lot going on during the summer. So one of the questions though is, if we were able to start in the fall of 2024, how much would we save in terms of price increases? That was sort of one argument in favor if we were able to do that. Another argument was, well, might be more democratic. We'd have more people voting in March probably than in a special meeting.
Any other questions? Like Dennis said, we're going to have, Chris is going to make it to our next meeting, and you'll have a chance to digest the gross dollar figures here, but he'll have a little bit more specificity that he could discuss. He can also talk about the rationale and time to issue bid requests. And Dana and I chatted some today. It's looking like I may not be able to make to the town meeting. So, I wouldn't mind the May time anyways. So, just that's my way to know.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
By the way.
So, number of reasons, but I am supportive of later bond vote, because I think the more we can develop the information, and really the more that we can assure taxpayers that our estimate, the more closely we can define what the real amount of usage of that bond and how much of it will be covered by grants and donors is, I think, very important to people's decisions. We have to bond for the full amount, but are we bonding 16.5 million with 10 million really being paid on the tax rolls, or are we bonded 16.5 million and 14 million is being paid on tax rolls? I think those are different. I think the way people look at it will be different, for one. And number two, I think we owe it to them to make sure we've at least defined that as much as we can. And so if a couple months, based upon the information that the project team has been given, would appear to be well spent for us to develop that information.
I think, I haven't really talked too much about saying this, but we're going to bond for the whole project, and we'll have a sense of the potential ability to raise $6.5 million. Whether we raise 6.5 million, or we get 2 million or 10 million, I think we need to be approaching the town, the voters, and saying, we've got a bond for 16.5 million, and we can't say we're going to bond for 16.5 million, and we're going to do the best we can, but you might be taxed at 15 million. I think at some point we as a select board have to decide how much we really want to borrow, not to bond, but borrow. Do we want to only borrow 8 million and tell the taxpayers we're going to, or is it going to be 10 million? We're going to say to the taxpayers, we are not going to go anything. What you're going to build a library that's going to take 10 million of town money, and whatever else the committee can raise. I mean,
And that's the bottom line.
that's the bottom. We need to set a bottom line to assure the community that they're voting on a bottom line and not on a $16 million prayer. I don't know if that sounds fair, but I also think I also have the feeling that there's certain people in this town that if we get closer, are not going to let this thing fail. I've seen that before in what we do. In other words, we get 10 million and we're at 4 million. We still get a pretty good library, but I think this town has people in it that will say, I'm going to carry you through. I've seen it in our church, and I think the town hall theater is going to be seeing a similar thing. But for us, we really need to be honest with the voters what they're really going to have to pay, and not.
Which is why, for us to have a decision, I think
Yeah.
I just feel like we're right now making a decision believing on 10, but we need to, the design is a $16.5 million design. And to spend that money to fully define that design to bid specs that we can actually get bids, we're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, we are. But
And if we're not willing to go whatever that dollar figure is, like if we find that there's no way we're going to get 6.5 million, but we're only going to go 10, then we're kidding ourselves to do that. So I think we need to define, we need to understand, is it is the 6.5 million doable, or are we willing to go 12? We're willing to go give 8. So we'll have to have a discussion at the select board level, what we're willing to do.
Right. I agree. It's just what I said. Yep.
So one more small piece of information which might be helpful. The $6.5 million figure assumes that we would be getting $1 million from the Department of Libraries. There is a chance that could be 1.5, and it also assumes 500,000 from the Northern Borders Regional Planning Commission Catalyst Fund, which could be up to $1 million if they decide to consider the library and infrastructure project, which last time I spoke to the funders, it seemed potentially like that would be the case. So I would say, while obviously you cannot guarantee any of these grants will come through, the 6.5, it could be theoretically higher than that, I guess is what I'm saying.
And our discussion today, I didn't ask you, but the costs for any in-kind coverage of space for the interim library or storage or anything, does that reduce from that as well? Does that consider Or is that cost not considered in the 16.5 million?
There is I would say a modest placeholder in that 16.5 million. I want to say it's 200,000
Yes.
that was carried for that. It's still difficult to estimate exactly what moving and storage and rent would cost, but I would say that 200,000 figure is optimistically hoping that we get some portion of that covered through an in-kind donation or a reduced market rent.
Well, there's going to be some cost savings not having this building too.
That's
I
a
mean,
good
you're going to
point.
be paying a lease, but you're not going to be paying for any of that building. So there's going to be some money that's going to be left there, in the utilities and
Sure.
stuff like that.
Well, they'll be working and the utilities will be on.
That's probably in the construction costs.
Well,
I think it
you know,
is.
we have
That's
a-
all in the construction
We have a
costs.
placeholder right now for the cost of, replacing a couple of utility poles and putting some things in other places. And they haven't fully had that discussion with Green Mountain Power, but it's in the $100,000 range just for those utilities. So that's boosting up our costs. To tilt the parking lot, there's a cost to that as well. One thing I would just mention is that the design team, and I don't know if you've seen this possible restriping, minor redesigns of the lower parking lot, think that they can get us about 10 new parking spaces down there. If you're going to have a crew repaving Bakery Lane, like that, I don't know how these things work, but I mean, right next to the parking lot. So
Yeah, so that lower, so the 16.3 includes the work on the upper parking lot. It does not include potential restriping and site work on the lower lot. REARC did break that out. I think it's around $200,000 is what that work would cost.
including repaving.
Yep, including repaving.
There's some site work down there, some dirt that's got to be moved.
Yeah.
To increase the parking.
Yeah. We've got some water work to do.
Okay. Any other questions?
When do you anticipate we'll have a discussion about that?
I think after we hear from Chris.
And I think at the next meeting, I can come with sort of a tentative schedule backing into a May bond vote, what those dates would look like. I started talking about that with Kathleen, and I can get that pulled together for the next meeting. So there's that clearer picture of.
That was a question that came out of our discussion today is how does that flow? And we don't know it. Kathleen's our expert on that. So kind of need to understand where our gates are when we need to make decisions by. So.
I was just going to say, I think meeting with Chris on the 9th, maybe setting you up for a decision end of January, having a serious discussion at that time.
They'll have more accurate cost estimates by then as well.
Yeah.
So, will we be able to use the town meeting as an educational opportunity, even if this bond is not on the March ballot? Last year, we shared a little bit about the library project, but I think
Presentation
Yeah.
or some materials?
Yes.
both, yeah.
I'm not aware of any other big stuff on there. I
think it'd be a good opportunity.
think that's probably a good opportunity to start that public education process, because by then we will have made a decision at the select board level. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, let's just make sure that we have, let's just make sure that we have the good information before we.
Right.
Which is what
You will have.
we have
You will
to have
have.
if we're going to have by
Yeah.
then we'll have to, if we're going to have a May bond.
Remember, the schematic design is almost done. So it's not going to change much.
Well, we're looking at ways to bring the cost down, right?
Right.
So,
But-
but yeah.
All right, well,
Great.
thank
Okay,
you.
thanks everyone very much.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
Izzy, thanks for zooming in.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays,
guys.
everyone. Merry
Hey,
Christmas.
if you're looking to make your Christmas merrier, you're not doing anything on Saturday. My son and his jazz combo will be performing holiday jazz party at the Edgewater Gallery, corner of Merchants Row and Main Street, 11 to 1. Coffee, light refreshments, jazz, fine art.
Wow.
And you all missed Joe singing a solo at the Messiah on Sunday. He was fabulous.
Oh,
I'll leave those poster boards. Those are from the public engagement or the open house we did. I'll come get them tomorrow morning. So if anyone wants to look closer after the meeting,
Where are you keeping him? In the library or over
they're
here?
still in the library
Okay.
lobby.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe we should consider that moving them over
Some
here.
timeshare over here.
Kathleen will have them to get a different user group.
And we should mention Dana's planning to meet tomorrow on Zoom with the state librarian and the assistant librarian to share where we are in our process. So.
They're excited.
good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Kathleen, is this one yours? Or?
This one is mine. So the board approved our application for $4,000 in grant funding to work with the Climate Economy Action Center of Addison County on an energy navigator program pilot and an interactive climate website. So this would be a pass-through grant to the Climate Economy Group, and asking for your approval of the contract for that, please.
Any questions?
I do have a quick question. Typically, websites require maintenance and, upkeep, and so I'm a little curious, what, will we keep applying for grants to kind of help with that, or is there any kind of plan, or?
Okay.
I
I'll
think
follow up with them.
I'm in favor of moving ahead with this contract, but I'm just worried about what will happen to that website if we don't have a plan for.
That's not our website, though.
Right. This is CX.
That's their website.
Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, but
We're funding it along with hopefully the other communities in the county funding it too. And hopefully they're smart enough to have a plan for that, but I imagine they are. It's pretty sharp people who are sitting on it.
My only question is, it seems a little like we're recreating Efficiency Vermont's model on a local level, and I'm welcome to put some money in to see if it's providing value, but I would love some metrics
Okay.
to make sure that it is.
Great point.
So I'll ask for metrics and the plan for maintenance of the website.
Brilliant. Thanks.
If there are no other questions, do you desire to proceed at this time and have them feed us that information, give them an opportunity to get started, or what's your desire?
I'll move to approve the proposed agreement between the town of Middlebury and the Climate Economy Action Center of Addison County for the development of an energy navigator program and a community-based climate website.
Second.
Seconded. Comments on the motion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. We'll go into the budget then.
So Mary Claire is here, and she's from Tri-Valley Transit, so why don't we kick off with her?
Hello. everybody.
Hello.
Sorry about the mask. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm here tonight because Tri-Valley Transit has respectfully requested a cost of living increase in our FY25 allocation request. I apologize, Izzy, I didn't have my handouts ready earlier today, but I have something my talking points I can share with you.
If only we had an overhead projector, we could get that right in there.
Wow.
Another
You have one at
piece
home
of,
'cause they
like,
don't build them
tech.
anymore.
So just to refresh your memories, Middlebury residents have direct access to every bus route that the Addison region operates, including local circulators, in-county commuters, and buses that go up to Burlington and down to Rutland. And in fact, Middlebury uses more rides than any other town in our system, which is pretty awesome. And likewise, with the dial-a-ride system, there are more dial-a-rides that originate in Middlebury than in any other town in our system, from here all the way over to the border of New Hampshire. Does anyone want me to run through a refresher of what dial-a-ride means? Okay.
My mother-in-law is driving for you guys on Dial-A-Ride.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So in the last complete performance year, which was FY23, that was the performance year that we referenced in our October application for funding. We had 62,851 rides that originated in Middlebury. That's 52,701 bus rides and 10,150 dial-a-rides. In the table below that, sorry again, Isabel, I go over, there's a table talking about town funding year. You can see that it's been level funding for the past several years. And in fact, it goes way beyond FY21. For the past 9 years, Tri-Valley Transit's been level funded at $26,098. As a point of reference, I put in Middlebury rides in our last pre-COVID year. At that time, we were just under 90,000, and Middlebury's cost per ride was 29 cents per ride, which is pretty amazing. And then we hit the COVID years, and you can see cost per ride creeping up a little bit as ridership went down. And then FY24, we see a resurgence in use, and we performed 51,449 rides, and cost per ride was around 51 cents per ride. And with the increase, we're projecting it'll go down to about 48 cents per ride. So the way that we're funded is 80% through government grants, and we're required by the federal government to raise 20% through local match. And the way we do that is through all contributions from all of the towns that we serve, and business sponsorships, individual donations, and direct support from grant writing, like foundations. And 5% of that 20% required match is our targeted match from local municipalities. And we have a fair share formula that we employ to decide what that amount should be. The table on the next page kind of gives you a glimpse into that. Our O&D program has a match goal of $68,000, and we assess each town's census data, the percentage of people who are age 60 or over, or living with a disability, are more likely to be transit dependent and needing dial-a-ride services. So in Middlebury, that would be 7.84% of your population, and 100% of those households are eligible for rides. So the fair share calculated would be just over $5,000. And for the public bus routes, our total need would be $150,900, and 19 99.19% of Middlebury population is eligible for that. You have 100% direct service to every route in our Addison region, as I mentioned. And so we calculated that Middlebury's fair share would be just under $29,000. So the total fair share would be $34,258. And I don't know if you have my request in front of you, but we've asked for less than that because we realized that everyone is having cost of living crunches, and we didn't want to put a big burden on Middlebury taxpayers. So rather than asking for about $8,000, we walked it back and we're asking for a $4,000 increase.
3178.
What's that? Yeah, it's in our budget.
Sorry, did you have?
All good.
Okay. And then we compared that to the national inflation average over the past decade of 3.53%, and that would equate to an ask of about $37,000. I just wanted to reiterate that we've been at level funding for the past 9 years. At the new requested funding level, your cost per ride would be 48 cents per ride or lower. And your contribution will unlock an additional $120,712 from our federal grants, which is very important for our operations. Do you have any questions for me?
I emailed you pictures of the presentation, so they're probably not the best, but you could at least see what she's given us tonight. Sorry.
Nice.
I was
That's
just
great.
trying- I
No,
was trying to
appropriate.
get-
Let's,
get
yeah,
her
absolutely.
so that's what was on my phone, just trying to send her pictures.
Thank you.
I think the dial ride stuff is great. When you were here last, you talked about like app-based Uber-esque
Yes.
scheduling.
Easy
And I
trip.
was wondering how that's coming.
We still are waiting for delivery on our vehicles,
Oh,
actually. And we
I've
got
heard that from other people.
We were so fed up with our first vendor, who was nothing but promises, that we canceled the order. And we were also struggling with the electric buses that we had ordered. They just weren't forthcoming. They weren't manufacturing them, so we couldn't safety test them and acquire them. So we went back to the drawing board, and actually we're ordering 2 different vans that are available commercially. They're in production right now, and 2 electric vans that will operate Easy Trip. So,
Okay. And so this is a separate service from either of the scheduled
it's
bus
a,
routes or the dial ride.
it's a hybrid service, actually. So it will be replacing the Middlebury shuttle buses that serve Shaw's, Marble Works, College, and Hospital neighborhood loops.
Okay.
And we're keeping the Hannaford spine because that's our busiest activity in our entire system.
Sure.
And so people coming in from Rutland and Virgins and Bristol who hop on that bus every day won't have to reserve a ride. They can just get off one bus and onto the next. But, we're going to have this much bigger zone than we're currently able to serve. And we're hoping it will appeal to a wider demographic. And we'll still have the energy efficiency of batching some rides.
Sure.
But you'll never be on board with more than 3 or 4 people at a time. And your seat time will be, between 10 and 20 minutes, depending on how far you need to travel.
Yeah. Awesome.
The software's ready.
Good.
We're doing staff training right now on the software, and outreach will be coming right after that. I'm going to start with high barrier users like Charter House,
Sure.
the retirement communities around here, CSAC. I'm going to be speaking directly to groups like Speak Out and coach them through so they don't feel left behind, and help them acquire phones if they need phones. talk them through loading the app on their phone or just reassuring them on how they can pre-schedule rides just by calling.
Neat.
Yeah.
Sounds incredible.
Other questions? Mary, I'm just curious, glad to see the ridership is starting to climb again. Are you seeing that throughout? I see what we have is Middlebury. Oh, no, I see the all rides. Is that similar increases across all rides?
Yes. So with the exception of maybe one commuter route over in our Orange County area, all of the routes are rebounding very well. We redesigned the link to Burlington, and we're filling that bus every day on some of the runs. The 1025 isn't performing as well as we had hoped, and that is something that Middlebury residents particularly asked for, so that's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
In fact, I did a lot of outreach directly to retirement homes saying, we'll pick you up at the lodge or at Eastview and take you to the Shelburne Museum. We'll take you to the mall. We'll take you to the waterfront. And nobody's taken us up on that offer yet. But so we'll give that a little bit more time. And then if that doesn't pick up, we'll reallocate that and try to do something great that meets unmet need with it. We just redesigned the Snow Bowl, and we're serving all of the ski teams now, which is something that we hadn't been able to do before.
Fantastic.
Because Middlebury College has night skiing now. So it makes sense. You know, the times work out. We're able to get them there, and they have some decent time on the slopes. So that's another big growth area for us.
Good. Any questions, Izzy?
Were you able to kind of see those pictures?
Yeah, thanks so much for sending those via email.
Modern technology.
Awesome.
I was slow to pick up on the options of sharing that information. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Mary.
Thank you for your time.
I'm gonna do a lot of payroll stuff now.
What's that?
People, print
Payroll?
it out, fill it out,
Really?
take a picture with their phone and send it to them.
All right.
So we're back at the budget. I'm going to go over the revision summary, and you can follow along in your line item budget, which I gave to you. Izzy, you may want to call up the line item budget if you want to follow along on your computer. These are all items. There's nothing new here. These are all items we discussed at the last meeting. Lindsay pointed out that Women's Safe has been renamed the Atria Collective. That's on line item 552. So there's no change, and that is online on page 14 of your budget.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Skipping ahead to a more substantial matter, on line 654, page 17, the fire department bond principal was corrected from 284,593 to 243,750, a reduction of $40,843. Dog damage, thanks to the inquiry about that. On line 691, I reduced that budget by $100 as the state statute requiring the town to pay for damaged and worried livestock has been repealed. It was repealed in 2011.
All right.
Other claims, not knowing what other claims might be on line 693, I also took that $100 out of the budget. Capital improvements, Emily pointed out that the money in the capital improvement program for sidewalks was not the full level funding. I had it in at 154,200, and it should have been 155,200. So that capital improvements line 709 was increased by $1,000. So your total changes on expense items were $40,043. Public safety, you noted that the public safety, the revenue for the dispatch from the Addison County Sheriff's Department on line 60 was not included in the first draft of the budget, so that has been added for $24,000. So the net changes there are about 6/10 of a cent of reduction in the estimated tax rate. So overall, the first draft of the budget was a 5.6% increase overall. The second draft of the budget is a 5.3% increase. Your tax rate for budget draft 1 was up 5.9%. And the second draft is 5.5% for the tax rate. And that's all I have to report.
And actually, I calculated on the total municipal, and it's sub 5% increase
Yeah.
on total municipal.
Yeah. Because you also have the fire fund and the veterans included in that amount.
Any questions of Kathleen on this?
I would like to thank the state for scaring everyone with that huge percentage last week rather, which makes us look very fiscally responsible by comparison.
Town of Middlebury has been very fiscally.
Of course. Well, I mean, not just by comparison, but demonstrating to everyone
Yes.
our fiscal responsibility. Yeah.
Okay. We have the first draft of our warning.
Correct. No surprises here either.
No.
Let me put that up. I circulated this to the moderator at the town clerk and administrative staff for their input, and all signed off on it as presented. We have our usual planning for town meeting on March 4th with voting on March 5th. Our usual budget article, collecting taxes in 2 installments. Last year, this was a leftover from last year, you voted to transfer an amount from the Cross Street Bridge Fund to offset the increase in debt service for the adaptive reuse project and the increase in capital improvements. So just leaving that out there as a possibility with no suggestion at this time. And then, as you know, we were looking at the potential for a bond vote on this phase 5 of the South Street project and the Bakery Lane project for $1.2 million, with the understanding that there will be significant state funding available for that. And as you requested, Emily will be providing complete impact information on that for us.
Any questions on that? Hearing none. Next is just approval of the grand list of errors and omissions report. Did we get the report?
We did. Let's here in the
Sorry,
packet.
before you go there,
Yeah.
just one thought on town meeting and the warning. I'm trying to remember everything we asked voters to approve by bond last year. I know one of them for sure was the water storage on the hill, which we did not receive funding for. And I'm just wondering if it's worth giving voters a little update on some of the things. It's a good example of where we
We need to
ask
be
them,
accountable.
where we ask them to approve something and the funding doesn't come through like we expected. So we have put that project on hold and we're doing other things to try to increase our likelihood of getting money.
Competitiveness for that.
Right.
But I want voters to, I wanna put out that we don't just go forward of it, even though the voters have given us the approval.
Yeah.
I wanna figure out how to.
I
It's not a
think,
bait and switch.
I think that would be great, and it would also give us an opportunity to fully report out on the success we had with the Washington Street project and the Court Street project. Some major funding
Right.
Yeah.
came in as part of those
I
projects.
just, cause, they may not, well, we approved all this last year and what happened, anyway, sorry,
I think they're good thoughts, especially,
I don't wanna keep people too long, but I also
Yeah,
wanna
but-
take the opportunity to give them a little update on some of the things.
I don't think it takes that long to do that. But it should be part of maybe the bond brief.
Right.
Here are the bonds, here's what's gone on. We could start with those
Does that have
three.
to be under other business?
Yeah.
Anyway, we may have to figure out where it goes. Anyway, I
Yeah.
just think,
No,
I was
it's-
just thinking out loud.
It's great context to go along with these authorizations for
And
borrowing.
I'm also just thinking about the library project too. I just want, I want voters to see that we demonstrate,
Mhm.
Accountability.
we're asking you to do this, but we're really not going forward until we know we can cover
What we've
most
said we
or
were gonna
considerable
do.
part of
Yeah.
the cost before,
That was part of our presentation at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a little glitch. And we are sticking with what we committed to.
I think it slows us down a little, but I don't think, but like Catherine said, we should also point out all the money we have received to do some of the other
Absolutely.
water projects in town that we've done, so. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I distracted the conversation.
It's good. No, I think that's exactly
No, it's
on.
important.
It's
On
good to get
topic.
it out now so we can start planning for it.
I wish there was some way we could get more people at our, what did we have, 80 some last year? Or was it?
About 100.
Yeah. So 100 people vote on a budget.
Pre,
That was the first full meeting.
pre-COVID, we would get how many?
200, 250.
50, I was thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. Which always seemed low to me, but it was
Yeah.
at least representation.
Right.
Let's hope it grows like the ridership. This is our list, that's it?
Maybe we should,
Oh,
maybe
down.
we should use that tech service. Or see if we can get that tech service up and running and get some people.
Yeah,
signed
come
up
on.
and-
It's-
People-
Oh, yes.
It's an opt-in,
The tech
remember.
service company is ready to get us up and running.
We have to have people sign up,
Yeah.
but that would be a great reminder
Yeah.
to send reminders about town meeting. And voting the next day.
I'm gonna get with Crystal and find the growth curve on our subscribing for that service.
Nice.
Be interesting to see. So we have a grand list, errors, adjustments, omissions that drops us 437,
100,
437 or 457?
437.
437, 100.
Say that again.
It's
400.
$437,100, the reduction in the grand list.
Wow.
The majority is the town hall theater.
Quarry Road Farm.
Because they
Session
stopped renting?
changes.
I don't understand.
It-
So the diner was.
Oh, they tore it
taxed.
down.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
Sure.
And,
That would be appropriate. The diner's gone. I can
and it
understand.
was rented out
Right.
to a commercial property,
Yep.
so it was taxed before.
And then the lease expired.
Yeah, yeah.
That, it's not taxed, is it? Well,
Well,
yeah, it's a,
it wouldn't be as a nonprofit, it was rented to the.
yeah, got it. I understand. Thank you. Understand.
So I need a motion to approve this list.
I'll move to approve the 2023 Congress Affairs and Commissions report as presented.
Second, sorry.
Oh my God.
Sleeping. Although there
You guys are
three other people
merciless.
in the room.
Yes, there are. You guys are usually fighting for this stuff, and I don't know, we need to get Izzy back here so somebody can do this.
I'm gonna give Dan a shot of espresso next time.
Well, I never do these things because there's always a fight. So I don't need my name on there. I'm okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Dan, when the anthropologists go through the minutes of the Middlebary Select Board, they're like, what was this guy doing?
He never spoke.
Never spoke.
Check warrants.
Never participated.
I indeed reviewed the check warrants today and found them in good order. And I move to approve total expenditures in the amount of $384,323.53, consisting of $225,944.78 for accounts payable and $158,378.75 for payroll for the period of December 13th through December 19th of the year of our Lord 2023.
All in favor, signify
gonna
by
second
saying
that.
aye. Okay. Select board member concerns. Dan, I'm gonna get you to say something. What
I
you got?
talk all the time. Somebody the other day said, geez, Dan, you're quoted in the paper more than anybody I know in town. And I said,
Well, you sparse your words out very efficiently so that they're quotable when they come.
when I seldom speak, apparently.
People listen.
That's not true. Happy holidays. I hope everybody has a great holiday and safe and get to see family. That's it.
Okay. Heather,
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. I'm all set.
all set?
Safe travels. Safe travels.
Oh, thank you.
It's a long ride.
I got nothing. I'll see you guys on the 9th. I'll be back in person.
Somebody to second. We have somebody to second.
We look forward to seeing you
Yes.
back here and hope your trip goes smoothly, Isabel.
Thanks, guys.
Andy?
I likewise have nothing to add.
Okay, we do have, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, whether it's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you are celebrating. I appreciate all the work everyone does, not just in our board meetings, but in committees and everything that you've done throughout the year to make the town that Middlebury is. And through especially our staff, our full-time staff, and everything that they've done, we've really, Middlebury continues to be a town that is noted throughout the state as a place to be. So we do have a reason for an executive session. You got something else first.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, that reminded me, no other town is using that text.my.gov.
Right.
Right? So
Right.
we're,
Breaking ground.
yeah,
We are trendsetters.
you just reminded me of that. I remember.
Let's go.
No one else was using it, so.
And fancy new website tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Oh, yeah.
or Thursday, is it going to be ready tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm just getting emails from our vendor, so it's either this evening or tomorrow, although she explains that it takes 24, 40 hours for the
DNS.
to pick it up.
Yeah.
So that's just part of the way Google works, so it'll appear within 24, 48 hours.
If you would reduce the time to live on your DNSA records, then it could have been cycled in more quickly. That's all right. That's neither here nor there. Yeah.
You one of those guys?
Yeah, that's exactly me.
Is Andy doing motions or you want?
He's not
Oh,
ready.
I'm not ready.
He's not ready.
Sorry.
I would expect you to be ready.
Jeez.
In accordance with Vermont's open meeting law requirements, I move that the board find that premature general knowledge of the consideration of legal matters would clearly place the select board at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing its strategy for legal matters if it discusses it in public.
A second.
All in favor?
I
Is the,
I move that the board enter into executive session, executive session to discuss the legal matters under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
I second again. I've got two. I'm
All
good.
in favor?
That's the rest.
Aye.
Won't do any more this year.
Is there any expected voting action?
So we're moving into executive session at 8:30.
Yeah.